The gift of life is one miracle for me that we all are receiving on daily basis. We'll still receive it till our ripe old age. Now, when we have received this gift, how grateful are we to the giver? That's the Almighty. It remains a question. I don't know if we all show gratitude enough for. As we roll by each day, a lot of things happen. Nigerians say we wake up every day and hear one news or the other. One of such things that happens on daily basis is crime, corruption, when it comes to financial corruption. Last week we started a conversation around this topic, and that's the crime and the urge to get quick rich and the rituals attached to it. A lot of things are happening. Some people have been indicted, the banks inclusive, and we're asking a lot of questions. Well, when I say we, it is a conversation, and conversation does not happen, when I am talking alone, unless I'm soliloquizing, and I haven't gotten to that level yet. So I have people seated with me here. Let's start from the gentleman. Your name?
Good morning. Good to be here again. I'm Ujile Abanatanya. I'm a legal practitioner, a human rights activist, and social commentator.
And I see you rocking your idoma.
Yeah, proud to be one.
Okay, how is that greeting again? The greeting idoma.
Nwachi.
Nwachi. Okay, Nwachi means child of God.
Good morning.
Oh, okay, sorry.
All right. Okay, my name is Prada Uzoduma. I am a lawyer, barrister as well, the principal partner of Principal Legal Consult.
Okay, so we're having Prada join us for the first time, and I know she's all boiling hot because of what we're discussing. She was to be here with us last week, but she couldn't make it. So all those pent up feelings and anger and advice, we're going to get them all today. But before we get started, my name is Elizabeth, by the way. Let's take a look at this little video put together for us, and then we'll come back. We start the show properly.
There is an increase in the amount of fraudulent activities going on in the country right now. I want to share with you all the story of a young girl, Mercy, who was a victim of one of these activities. Let's find out.
Mercy is a young urbanite who lives in Abuja. She is the manager of an upscale restaurant in Maitama. She commutes to work from Maraba to Maitama on a daily basis. On her way to work one morning, Mercy fell victim to a case of armed robbery. She was held hostage in a cab she boarded. Unbeknown to her, the other passengers were thieves.
Collect the phone. Where's the ATM card? Bring your ATM card. Bring it. Your ATM. Where's the ATM card? Bring your ATM card. You think I'm playing with you? Yeah. Boy, collect this thing. They deal with this guy now. Collect this thing, boy. What's the pin? Took out this knife. Took out.
Please don't hurt me.
The thieves promised as long as she gave them all the money she had on her person, which she did immediately. The crooks also confiscated her ATM card and withdrew all the money in her account with the POS machine.
What is your ATM pin?
156.
You should say correct.
Yes.
What is your ATM pin?
156. Yeah. You guys can try it.
If you put on for POS, you don't work. You all don't pay.
Run this thing.
Bring her. Give me the pin. What do you call him again?
1566.
Okay, boy, correct.
Why, man? That's fine.
Afterwards, they took everything else valuable she had on her person and dumped her on the road.
No. This baby grand.
Back and come on. Move on. You are move on.
Trying to sort herself out thereafter, Mercy went to her bank to rectify her financial situation. Unfortunately, she was met with even more troubling news. The bank had no solution to her problem.
Mercy is not alone in this. It is a daily tragedy, even as we speak. The questions now are these POS machines not registered? Can these fraudulent acts not be traced via the POS? Can these activities of fraudsters not be reported to the banks and the banks follow up? Let's meet with our guests in the studio and find out how they can provide solutions to our problems.
All right, so last week we actually started that conversation, and one or two questions, came up, which tilted towards the participation of the bank in solution provision. So that's the offshoot of that. And I know we actually had a dialogue around that time. And I want to throw it back to, I think, Pretty. Okay, Lynette just join us now. Lynette, were you stopped by fraudsters on the road?
Traffic was horrible.
Okay.
Maybe the weather or something, but it was unusual today. And I was like, God, please, I need divine intervention. So,
And it came. All right, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, so I would want to know, the POS, first of all, are they usually registered?
Yes, of course. These are machines, and of course we know things with machines. They have serial numbers that are usually attached to them, both from the issuers. For instance, the bank. Apart from the numbers that naturally come with these devices, the banks also have other means of identifying machines that they give out to prospective customers. So there is no way a transaction can take place on that machine that they can't go back to trace it. So there's certainly no way. There's no way.
So what can we do? I mean, why are the banks not able to catch the culprits? Let me start
It's
with
quite simple.
Okay.
You know, for instance, if I take my debit card now to use with the POS, there isn't anything that indicates whether it's my card or not. There's nothing that stops me from using that card if I have the PIN. So I think, the fingerprints things that they're, introducing now, if that is maybe enabled to the card, then you can enable it. If your fingerprint is not there, then that doesn't work. But criminals are not kind-hearted. They could actually cut off someone's finger. Yes, just to be able to use it. So the thing is, it's about safety.
You see, what I have in my hand is actually a receipt
Yes,
from a shop,
yes.
and it's given to me via POS. And I try to look at these things here. This one is from a shop, so the person that attended to me is here. The things we bought are all here, and it's Wema Bank. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's Wema Bank, and the POS also has a serial number attached to it.
It does.
So if I have the bank,
It has
On
an
it.
agent's number attached to it.
Yes.
that's what I said. It has
Yes.
a patient something
Yes.
up here.
The merchant.
So if I have this and I go to the bank, as I have it this way, I'm sure it's also there in my transaction,
Yeah, transaction.
report. Like when I
Yes.
ask for my
Statement.
history.
Statement of account,
So
yeah.
if I go to the bank, with all these things, wouldn't they be able to use the serial number, the bank, name,
To
and be
catch
able to
a
get
criminal?
the culprits?
Not really. Not really, because the truth is, you used your debit card, isn't it?
Yes,
Is it possible for you to use your husband's debit card to shop?
yes.
So how would the person who is transacting with you know that it's not your card or you don't have the permission to use that card? All he needs is the PIN.
No, if
I think the question you're asking is, what is the bank's guarantee that you are not the person that made that purchase, right? So I don't think it's a situation of looking at the receipt alone. For example, now we have cameras in the ATM machines,
Exactly.
right?
That's what kind
So
of
it looks at the date of the transaction. What day was the transaction made? Who made that transaction? This is our banks taking a step further to ensure that customers feel safe using their banks and using their POS. This is why we have ratings for banks, different stars. 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 5 stars.
there's a rating for
There's a
banks.
rating for
Yeah,
banks.
Where do I go to rate it?
It's on the internet.
It's
You
on
look at the
the
banks
internet.
and their ratings, so many factors are being considered to give them the 5 stars or the 4 stars, and customer satisfaction, the ability to like recover fraudulent purchases and things like that, what increases the bank's rating. So you look at the bank, you look at the stars. Most people just go and open bank accounts without even checking up on the bank, who owns the bank, how they function. If I lost my ATM, what is the procedure? So I think we as citizens need to take that extra step forward. How does this bank protect me when I lose my ATM or when I've been a victim of fraud? So the questions that we should consider before opening an account with the bank.
Okay, sorry. I think from my own understanding of this topic we're discussing, I think we're looking at a situation whereby these fraudsters, of course, recently they go about even with POS,
They do.
taking money from their victims. I think our topic, we're looking at a situation whereby such victim can approach the bank and say, so and so happened on my way. How do I get? Because there's no way you can issue out the POS machine to a merchant without having the details of that person. I think that's what we're looking at here. Yeah, I think naturally it should be a walk-in kind of situation. You go in, lay your complaint. If you can establish that yes, I own this ATM card that was used to take my money. If I can establish that before the bank should not have problem providing me with details of who did this or who has that machine that was used to rob me, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the case where the machine is used. Yeah.
Exactly, that is the case where
But
the
then
machine is
when
used.
the debit card is taken from you and then you're forced to give your PIN, like what we just watched, what happens?
Yeah, I think that's where I will subscribe to what my learned
Yeah.
colleagues say here.
That's it. So
From the
CCTV,
the CCTV, the machine itself has camera and all that. But in the other situation, because we've also witnessed such situation where POS is being used to defraud people at the position where they are attacked, I think without holding brief for the bank, as part of due diligence, after identifying yourself that you own this card and this is what happened to you, I think the other measures that the bank usually take to ensure, because they also don't want any liability to befall them at the end of the day, they also go extra miles to ask you to get an order of court to enable them do what they're supposed to do, at least to provide. What if anybody walks into the bank and said, so and so happened to me, let's check this is it, and maybe it's the other way around. So they also need to be protected by asking you to get an order from the court.
Okay, but as we speak now, I haven't had anybody who mentioned there was an order of court or something from the court to get these things done.
Yeah, I think without that, like I said, I'm not holding brief for the bank, but I know without that, it will be very difficult for the bank to oblige you any information you want to know about such machines.
Or carry out investigations.
Yes.
As to why that occurred.
Yes.
Because if somebody naps me and takes my ATM, and within a short period of time, usually these things happen at wee hours, maybe early nights or early morning. I don't think there's a shop that is really that functional. I mean, I'm buying groceries. You won't tell me I'm buying groceries at 12 midnight or at 1 a.m., So, and then I'm buying groceries from a shop and 100,000 goes, 200,000, like that in sequence. So if I go to report, I think the bank should actually take that serious. If I present such a case, give me my printouts. I take the printouts, I go to the police. I was robbed. This is what happened, and this is what the bank gave me. It's actually an ATM from so-and-so bank. They should be able to take it up and meet with the bank, and the bank shall avail the information of the owner of that POS. Sometimes this POS may not even be owned. Like the one case I was told is not owned. The person that used it to rob was not the real owner, just because he's privileged to go to his or gas account. Somebody that works for somebody. So he has this privilege. Yes.
Yeah. So he was.
So when the guy was not in town, he took the POS and they did the robbery, and he went to the bank and collected the money.
Yes.
Eventually, when they were caught, the man was the one arrested.
That's it.
Of course.
So he had to now trace within his boys who took what.
Yeah.
and that game was rectified. And that's because somebody pressured and ensured that he went to the bank and got these things done. But moving back a little bit, I know fraud that happen, especially with the means of getting rich quick, is not just when people rob with the POS. There are other forms that these things happen.
Yep.
What are the ways we expose ourselves unnecessarily? Father?
I think, look at, for example, this trend towards cryptocurrency, towards get rich quick schemes, investments, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Most people that I know have been defrauded from that because they've gone into the business or into the investment without the required knowledge and security. I've had clients personally that have been victims of this case. They've had people approach them that, oh, give me this 1 million in the next 24 hours, I'm going to invest it for you, I'm going to give you back 6 million. I mean, look at the case of last month, the investment banker or the investment boy, I think he was young, about 21 years old, that promised his clients 60% ROI. That is impossible. I mean, I'm not a financial expert, but I know that there's no investment that would ever promise you a 60% ROI. So most people go into these investments without the required knowledge, so if you want to go into any investment, if you want to even do any investment, you should be willing to invest what you can afford to lose, because investments are not certain. Nothing is certain when it comes to finances and all of that. So that someone will promise you a 60% ROI and you apply that scheme, it means that you don't have the knowledge of the investment, but there's no investment that promises you that amount of ROI. But people go in for these things because they're looking for get rich quick scheme, or whatever it is. So it's greed, and at the same time it's the situation of the country.
And it's also ignorance.
Most people want to make money because things are hard. We cannot just look at this why people are doing these things without looking at the cause of the problem.
Exactly.
Most people are doing this, they're trying to get rich quick because they don't feel safe. They don't feel that their finances are safe. So they don't feel like they're protected. If I am a mass on the road and I have 100 naira, and somebody comes to me that, oh, give me 100 naira today and I'll make it 1K for you tomorrow, I'm not willing to do that because I don't know if walking down the road with my 100 naira, if, for example, SARS will stop me and take that money from me and that's the end. So we look at the cause of the problem. Why are people being lured into these schemes? It's because of the situation of the country, right? People are not safe. The insecurity is a lot.
They're not financially secured, so to speak.
Yes.
But sometimes you're actually right in what you just said, but sometimes I differ a little bit. I still think that we have more money today than we had in the way days. Mm-hmm. Think about when Nigeria gained independence, how much was money? But it had value because we made use of what we had.
Yeah.
We were more contented. I think our values that changed is the core cause of our problem.
Our values and wrong distribution of wealth.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. In BRC, somewhere in Cross River State, a very funny thing is going on there. They have all kinds of precious stones, including diamonds.
Really? In Cross River State? Diamonds?
Yes.
Give me the address.
Now, you won't believe that people from Guinea are the ones in charge.
Guinea?
Yes.
Is there a village called Guinea,
No,
Nigeria?
we're talking about Guinea, a country.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Guinea-Bissau?
Yes.
Wow.
They are the ones who are in charge with their guns. How is that okay? And the villagers, they are mining this, not even developing the environment for the villagers. Nothing is happening for the owners of this product, so to speak. And then they have their guns to intimidate these people. And that's why I call it uneven distribution of wealth. Nigeria is rich in mineral deposits. I think one of the richest in the world, if not the richest. Why are we the way we are today? There's too much emphasis on oil. Oil isn't working anymore. We have sunlight. We have everything it takes to build a solar company. All the materials, they come from China, mine it, go back, produce, and then sell it to us. We have cocoa. They come, they buy it very cheaply, go back, make exquisite chocolates, send it back to us to buy. Why don't we have the manufacturing companies? We have too much in this country to even have poor people on the streets. Sincerely, Wow. I'm not contesting for anything, but man, if I had the power, I know what I would do with this country. Because I've done my research, and a Nigerian should be able to just earn stipends for being a Nigerian. We have gold, we have diamond, we have everything. So, what exactly is the problem? Uneven distribution of wealth.
I think adding to what you just said, there's something that is constant in all these things. There is no way an outsider will come into this country and dominate our mineral resources without the Nigerian collaborators.
I was so wondering
There is
about
no
that.
way.
How
Let me
does
give
this
you
now
an,
happen?
let me give
That's
you
what
an instance. Just about a little over 3 weeks ago, I was opportune to be around somewhere in Duse Alaji. There is this, I think, one of the biggest quarry we have in Nigeria. It's run by the Chinese. It's run by the
How
Chinese.
come?
How come? From okay, the mania job like the security are just given to Nigerians, the
Nigerians,
drivers, the truck
the
drivers, and the
laborers.
rest. But the managers, this money, the owners of the monies are the Chinese.
How come?
So there is absolutely no way things like this can go on without someone in government being part of it or giving them. As I speak, go there, you see not less than 15 to 20 soldiers guarding that place for the Chinese here in Abuja. So adding to what she said, there is serious inequality in distribution of wealth in this country. There is seriously, how do we who owns this country, the youth, how would they fit in? It gives them, if, without holding brief and without encouraging the illegal activities that youth are into. But at least if there was a government regulatory agency that ensures that things are evenly distributed across the
Nigeria
strata,
would have been
I am telling
one of the
you,
most beautiful countries.
probably
in the
we
world.
wouldn't have been here discussing
truth.
this topic.
Yeah, just to take off from what he's saying, I feel like it's very important. So we're lawyers, right? So our first point of contact should be the Constitution. We look at this Constitution, for example, in Chapter 2 of the Constitution, it talks about the government's rights, what government is supposed to do for Nigeria. Part of the things that he's saying, government is supposed to make equal opportunity for Nigerians. The sole aim of the government is to secure property and the well-being of Nigerians, to put Nigerians first as a Nigerian citizen. So we have all these rights in Chapter 2 that the government is supposed to do. Get rid of illiteracy, provide employment for its citizens, but the government is lacking for those rights. They're lacking towards those rights. And why is that? If you look at the Constitution in Chapter 2, where we have these rights, you look at Chapter 1 again, where it says that the rights in Chapter 2, there is no consequence for the government failing to meet those rights.
Yes.
Those are what we call non-justiciable rights. So what is the point of telling someone that if, for example, in the layman terms, if I was to shoot him today or defraud him today, there will be no consequences for my action? That is what the Constitution allows by saying that these rights are non-justiciable. Meaning that if the government fails to provide jobs for the citizens, if they fail to create a safe space for citizens, there are no consequences for their actions. And that is why the government gets away with all these things. And that is why we as lawyers, we as Nigerian citizens must seek for the reform of the Constitution. I feel like something is out there right now. So when we're talking about the reform of the Constitution, we should be talking about changing those non-justiciable rights. We should be owed rights such as security. We are owed those rights. That is the main aim of the government as a government. And those things are not enforceable in the course of law. So the government is operating without consequences. That is what it means from a legal perspective.
But I still think okay, you were
Yes,
going to say something.
I totally agree with
You guys don't make this place.
we'll try as much as possible not to.
I don't have my wig.
We'll try as possible not to. But I think she just made a valid point.
Okay.
And where currently, I think we have a hearing, public
for the
hearing
amendment
on
of the
the amendment of the
Constitution.
Constitution. But on my own part, as a legal practitioner, I want to align myself with a lot of other expert lawyers outside who are saying what we need is not the amendment of the Constitution. Let's give ourselves a new constitution. The 1999 Constitution, as amended, was imposed on us by the military, the Abdul Salam regime. So it is not something that you, myself, and we all sat down and agreed that this should be what should guide us. So instead of amending, we should call for a new constitution
by
Okay.
the people. Okay, so while we are waiting to call for that new constitution, I'll still go back to what operated while I was young. Really, I like to go back to that. I didn't know anything about constitution, you know, and even as at today, grown as I am, I know constitution because it was part of civic
Government
government,
studies.
civic education, social sciences, and all that we did in school.
Yeah.
I don't know where constitution helps me with my greed to get rich. I'm not saying you're not right.
Yeah.
Which is why some people, I'm looking at the messages here, are still putting it back to the family. As a matter of fact, somebody mentioned what he said last week. Said Mr. Ojile made a point when he said parents should do more on their children, and giving audience to our children is very necessary. Keep on the good work in the studio, my people. I greet you all. He says his name is Chi Bogo. All right. So it still goes back to what I was trying to point out. We know that we don't have equal distribution of wealth. We know that probably constitution needs to be amended or rejigged or bought a new one or agreed a new one, however it is. I'm not a lawyer. But I know that there is something that if you is ingrained in us, it works real hard, and that's good value. Somebody called me today, a young person, and I was talking to the person. I said, there are certain ways you talk to somebody who you do not know. Ordinary phone conversation. There are ways you don't know who I am. Somebody gave you my number to call, and you wake up this early morning. You're just 26 years old, and I'm almost 80, and you say, "Hi, Liz." I don't understand.
Seriously?
I asked you, how old are you? You said 26. I said, do you know I'm almost 90?
That's
for me,
wrong.
that's where it starts. He's already feeling, okay, 26 is a big age. And before you know it, he will tell you, I'm into big things. And that's where it starts.
Yeah.
He begins to think, at 26, I should have built a house. At 26, I should have had this. So if we're able to catch it early, that's my thoughts. Some of those things, we'll be able to cope. And then I want us to actually look at our exposure, to social media. A lot of things that happen I don't think I've ever posted my picture when I was crying. That's to tell you that we all live fake life. And I think I cry about almost every day.
Uh-oh.
I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. So it's one of those things. So it's that means we want to put out what we give people, wrong impressions, on Instagram, on this and that. We're not real. So why do we put out such things and then expect that we'll not be attacked? I am leaving it open for you people.
Yeah, first off, to corroborate with what you said earlier, I always refer to the Bible because for me, it's the wisest book on earth. The Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, so that even when he's old, he will not depart from it. Now, that person who said, hi, Liz, you need to check how he even addresses his own mom. I've seen people who call their mothers by their names.
Yeah.
It's so wrong.
Unfortunately.
So these values need to start from the background. It needs to start from home. That's why the Bible still says charity begins at home. So it's really important to start well, and then you can finish well. Otherwise, we're going to have a society of people who are just misfits, and then you just have people who are rogues. But then again, you have trainings that are available in etiquette, public speaking, and how to improve yourself. If these things are not offered in the school, they're offered online and then in other training institutions. Better yourself. You don't need to wait for what you were told or what you were taught. Everyone who taught you something is limited, but then you can improve. There's so much resources on the internet. If you want to speak right, what do? How to address someone who is not your mom? Man. M-A with an apostrophe A-M. It's not even ma. Good afternoon, ma'am. Not good afternoon, ma. Ma is actually a short form of madam, but the proper way is good afternoon, ma'am. You don't know who you're talking to, address that person as ma'am. Good afternoon, sir, even if the person is your age mate. It just tells well of you. So I think very much that we need to improve on ourselves. I heard this once, that if you want to hide something from a Nigerian, put it in a book. they won't find it because Nigerians don't read. It's a poor attitude. Yeah, I heard that.
Questionable.
She seemed not to be.
Questionable.
Apart from lawyers, no. Apart from lawyers,
Yeah.
I mean, people from the medical practitioners, and let's say
Very
professionals.
textbooks.
I'm talking about a regular person who just want to better whatever he's doing. People just go to school because I need a certificate. How many people can actually perform after school? How many people go out there to say, okay, I learned this, but I want to improve and add this? It's actually a handful. If we had more people doing researches, then a 26-year-old should know. You don't address someone as, hi, Liz. You're talking to the person, good morning, ma'am, whether you know the person's name or not. So that's the thing. We need to dig in and research and improve ourselves.
It actually gives me, it gives me, room to respect you more. If I'm not on that friendly basis yet with you, and you pick up phone and good morning, madam, it's I tell myself,
polite.
wow, this person is so not the okay, he's educated, not that the person went to school. They are two different things. You may just be that regular Joe on the
Yeah,
street,
it
but
means you have
you
respect.
avail yourself of knowledge, and it begins to show in your relationship
Exactly.
with people.
Exactly.
So like for instance, I would never call anyone before 8 a.m. unless I have your permission. If it's urgent, I send a text. But some people take offense when you tell them, why are you calling me 6 a.m.? What's the problem?
They don't
This thing could
understand.
have waited.
I
They
think
don't
yeah,
understand.
it boils down to upbringing. What is acceptable in my home might not be acceptable in your home, right? But because we're Nigerians, we're very cultural and traditional. We tend to think that there's a majority, there's a way that everyone should act, and we forget that people are individualistic. People have grown up in different countries, so they've taken some traits and some characteristics and brought it back to Nigeria, not understanding that these things are not acceptable here because we're a very cultural people. Then we look at schools, for example, our institutions. Most of the schools in Nigeria don't teach etiquette. They don't teach anything that is away from the syllabus. The government, the literature, the computer science, they don't teach etiquette, how to interact with adults. A friend of mine, we had this conversation last week. We got out of school and we know nothing about taxes, but we're expected to pay taxes. No one told us about tax, how to pay them, where to pay them, but we're expected to do these things. So I think schools need to broaden their curriculum, broaden their teachings. Outside of the government, the natural subjects, we want to teach people how to interact when they leave this institution, when they go to the outside world, how to interact with adults, businessmen, their bosses, their colleagues. Most schools don't teach these things, and that is the problem.
Yeah, I subscribe to what you just said, and I also want to see it apart from that the fact that schools don't teach them. The kind of educational system we practice here is what government gives you as syllabus that you teaches. So I would leave the blame on the back of at the table of the
curriculum
government
creators.
Yes, if they have this in mind, I will share an experience. Just recently, I watched a documentary about the school system in Japan. You'll be amazed. In that documentary, they said Japanese are the most respected individuals in the world, most respected people in the world. How do they get to do that? From day one, go to their schools. They don't have nannies. They don't have the pupils themselves clean up their messes themselves. At that age, they inculcate this thing into them. When they want to cross the road, the zebra crossing. Even after they cross or before they cross, they have to bow down to show a kind of appreciation. Check their documentary. Even the Chinese, an elderly person in Chinese does that till today. Give him something, he appreciates you by bowing down to you. These are things. It's inbuilt in them. They can't do without it. So by the time we start having to design our curriculum to reflect the things outside the books, outside the things that government want us to know, we are through their colonial masters, they want us to know. We should go out. We are people of culture. Let our culture reflect in what we study in school.
Exactly.
Let's like I also agree with her. Some of us, even as lawyers, were taught etiquette, professional etiquette, while in law school.
Exactly.
While in law school. So outside, assuming we're not taught, maybe we wouldn't have been different from
I know
other
you
people.
guys still call yourselves seniors like you're in secondary school.
Yes, we do.
Senior, this
We have
person.
We have our senior
colleagues.
colleagues.
Okay, that's nice. You know what you're talking about. I still, I want to, toe your line and blame it on the curriculum formulators.
Yes.
Because I have always wondered, and I've said it in more than one occasion, why do we have things like indices, logarithm,
Algorithm.
algebra?
Yeah.
And I studied all that until today. I have not been able to use it. Meanwhile, if you taught me ethics, etiquette, I will still find it useful till I
Exactly.
go to my grave.
Exactly.
Why don't we begin to, imbibe that? And then speaking about the Japanese culture, there are schools here in Abuja. They feel, I know it's outside Abuja as well, but my children went to school here, so I know. They feel that if a child comes to school, you pay for everything, including laundry. So there's somebody who goes round to pick up your
Laundry.
child's school uniform to wash. And I'm like, did she have a cut on the finger? And the answer is no. So why won't she wash her underwears?
Good question.
They say, sometimes they don't know how to wash her. Please don't do that. You're spoiling my child.
That's why they're
By
in
the
school.
time she grows up, she will start looking for a laundryman, and she will not be able to, do without a laundryman. And before you know it, she starts looking for big money to be able to pay for those
Maintain that
lifestyles.
lifestyle,
Let
yes.
her do her laundry.
Exactly.
There are some universities here in Nigeria where the cleaners of the hostels, go around to pick the students' clothes to wash. Some students told me that they said they don't need their clothes washed. Now, when they wash their clothes, they hang it. These clothes washed by these students deliberately gets missing. The reason is when you now say, okay, why is my shirt missing? Why is my this missing? They tell you, if you had given it to us, we would have washed and looked after it.
Oh wow.
So that's a way of forcing you to use their laundry service.
Wow.
And for me, that's crime. That's criminal. It goes back to what we are saying. The little space, that was I was talking about constitution,
Yes.
not really hitting this for me, even though it does have a point.
Yes.
It's for me, it's our mentality. Look at that cleaner looking for means
Being crafty.
of making sure that
Yeah.
students give them clothes to wash. And at the end of the day, you're doing things that are not right. A lot of people sit at home and blame the big government people. And I tell you, start with yourself first. Because if you go with where Bible says, clean your eye before you clean another person's eye, we'll all be in trouble. That woman that is, inflecting her lists for markets, you will write, I saw one on the internet. The person said he was going to buy dry meat, then gave the same dry meat in Igbo, gave the same dry meat in Hausa, all those kind of. I saw it. I wish I had it, So if a husband saw it, the same dry meat was written in 4 different languages. So and all of them had 1,000 this 2,000. So she's gained like 3,000 or 4,000 extra. So she does the same thing for vegetables. She writes green vegetable, then she writes ogo. She will write for real. The man does not go to kitchen, so she does not know the difference. So in your little corner, you're stealing.
Exactly.
And then the same person will sit back and watch the 9 o'clock news and say, "Oh, these government people are finishers." You started the finishing.
Exactly. Once the person is given the
It is.
opportunity, then he or she knows how to move big money around too.
Definitely.
Yeah, so it starts with us. That's the truth. Michael Jackson said, one of his songs, he said, "I'm talking to the man in the mirror." So who is the man in the mirror?
It's your reflection. All right, we'll take a break, but let's quickly read this and masticate a little bit as the break goes on. Good morning. The bank's nonchalant attitude to help a defrauded customer is fueling the rates of fraud in Nigeria. True. Anytime I guess they are on the receiving end, they go all out to recover their money. Let them do the same for the customers. Oh, you don't want to owe a bank.
That's all.
All right, so we'll take that break quickly and get back to our talk. All right, still conversation, and we have lots of mail here. Let's say, well done, everyone. You're doing a great job. Banks should be held responsible for fraudulent activities done by scammers because they refuse to expose them. After all, ain't they the same person that gave them the POS machine? That's Mommy Twins from FHA Lugbe. Thank you, Mommy Twins. And we quickly move to our text messages to get more. And this one says, just hang on a minute. Okay. This one says, I am Mazi Eugene. I have said it tirelessly. Nobody can solve this problem except the government. They should put on good legislative laws, enforceable laws that will not be compromised. And then we should also put CCTV cameras in certain environments. And period. Nigeria has acquired helicopters. Why are they using it? All right, so I read up some more, and Nigerians are not happy. So quickly get this. It says, please, can you give me more light to an internal domicile bank fraud, whereby the bank staff who have access to the ATM machine room, please do the ATM machine room have security gadgets, camera? Okay, do they have security camera gadgets or CCTV? When do the customer card, when, too much abbreviation, when the customer card is trapped there, they go to bring it out for the domicile customer. How can the secret number be protected from this bank staff? Oh, okay. I think the question is, the ATM machines, your card get trapped. Sometimes they actually get the card for you, so that the person there might be defrauding. I don't know if we have any such experience. Maybe you should be able to write your message better. Say the POS issue is very serious matter. The transfer went to someone's account. Yes, it's true. So it's very possible to track the account owner and get the person that collected the money from the ATM machine. That's Chris Godwin. Chris, thank you very much. We sincerely believe that Ojile value system is very child upbringing. But how do the leadership of every structure of government keep to the tenets of distribution of public wealth, especially that of employment and others? It's directly at you. It says Ojile.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to answer it now? I should go ahead and read more.
Let's finish the messages.
Okay, so we can't finish it today. Okay. So I'll just take some and we continue. Another one I directed to you, Mr. Ojile is talking sense. Let Nigerians have a brand new constitution, not that of detectors. That's from Paul New Nyanya. All right. You see, you guys have taken my program. These lawyers. I'm not talking constitution, so I won't respond to that. Good morning to you all. This issue of query being controlled by Chinese company is worrisome. There is one close to Idu railway station. The EFCC should find out who are the directors. I can assure you that conversation is going to make more inquiries about that, and we'll get back to this set to discuss that fully. Hello, my name is Onyinye Chukwu. I am from Adamawa State. My money was stolen. I am only withdrawing my money in one POS. Do I have the right to arrest the owner of that POS? Okay. That she's been withdrawing her money from one POS point.
Yeah.
And then her money she found is missing. Can she arrest the person?
No, but you should trace it from the bank first.
exactly.
I think you can trace it from the bank. You just don't take is as the point you said you are suspect. You are just suspecting. You've not made a conclusive investigation that person is responsible. And one thing is certain: there is no way your money in your account can be withdrawn without your card. If her card is with her and her money, which she's talking about the POS agent, she suspects that the same person is. I don't know how it can work.
You're
Except-
underestimating
no.
the innovation of criminals.
Except if our card is cloned, right?
Yeah.
And other things. But even at that, I still find it very difficult.
She needs to
That-
find out how many people know her PIN.
It could have
at
been
home
something
first.
as simple as online shopping where her details were saved
Yes.
in a fraudulent site.
Yeah, because-
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
At
So,
some
yeah.
point, I had lost a lot of money to a supposed NEPA, I call it NEPA company in Lagos. They call it, is it Power Holdings Ikeja?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every 2 days, 1,000 naira would just be debited from my account.
Oh wow.
Yes, this went on for like a month because I was buying lights online, so I don't really know what happened. I was using it here in Abuja, and then I get debited, I get a token that I cannot use. So I had to go and raise an eyebrow and report it to AEDC, and they said no, that something is fishy. So I had to go to the bank and actually discard that particular debit card, and that was how that stopped.
Yeah.
So that could happen.
Yes.
You can't insist that it's the
Yeah.
POS card.
Yeah. It could
It
be
It
may
may,
POS
not, it may not be the person.
Not
True.
Yeah.
necessarily.
And it could
If
also
the
be
POS
somebody in your
card-
house that is
yes.
using your card. You
Yeah,
don't know.
Yeah.
I also have a personal experience like that. I subscribe to Netflix, and I think in the process of my registration online, I pressed a button that gave them the right
Access.
Save, yes,
to
make deductions.
automatically make deduction every month.
Mhm.
And when I was looking at it, I now realized, but even at that, they should give me a prompt to make the final decision
Oh,
as at that
no.
point.
No, when you
But
have
People are
auto-
called
it's
automatic
very-
subscriptions.
auto
Yes.
renew,
Yeah.
they don't.
They
They
don't.
want their
Yeah.
money.
So you need to
Sometimes,
check
if I
carefully before-
wasn't careful, or if I didn't know I did these things myself, I would
Yeah.
have been suspecting somebody else.
Yeah.
So until I went back and deactivated
checked,
it,
yes.
and that was when it stopped.
You've listened to all the preferred solution. So check yourself very well. Check if you're having any suspicion on your phone that is possibly causing that.
Yes.
Somebody says here again, I really appreciate your discussions and your guests are on point. But whatever you people say, Western civilization has done a lot of damages to our behavior and excess love of money. That's coming from Barrister Lamba from Potkin, Yobe State. And moving on, he says, good morning to you and all the panelists. You're doing justice to the topic. The ethical vacuum should be blamed on the man on the mirror, just like he said. The family must wake up. Teachers can only do the little they can. Family, 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 family. He wrote it like 4 times. Azubike, Dr. Azubike, say PhD from Umuahia. Thank you very much. And some staff officer are agents to fraud. It takes time to know them for culture to start from home, not school alone. I think he's talking about the bank. Some of the people might just be working with them. There's another one coming in from Lagos. Mrs. Abiola says, good morning, Mars and Sars. The Almighty God will give us good hearts and grandparents to be able to train their children. Wrong things are now the right things. True, honestly. Good morning to everyone in the studio. My name is Zibi from Bayelsa. The problem with all these issues, which you've all mentioned, is centered on bad parenting. Parents have failed on their responsibility by bringing up their children with the right values. To me, bad parenting is our problem, our issue. There are a whole lot of mails here, but I'm sure that I won't be able to finish them before our time runs over. Let me quickly give us time to do more. And somebody asked some questions. I'm not going to talk about constitution. I put it to you that today's one is not constitution. So talk about fraud. I need our way forward. Now, if I'm defrauded, not just by bank, in any form, what is my first legal, step? Let's start from you.
I think you want to look at the fraud, how it occurred or how it happened, to know where is the right channel to go to. Could it be EFCC? Could it be the police? How much was involved? Do you want to go to the courts? I think most people are discouraged with going to court or going through the legal means because of the slow system how slow our justice system is, right? So most people go to the police and go to AFCC. I feel like if you've been defrauded and it's a large sum of money, your first point should be either the police or to AFCC.
Okay.
For a fast solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, just like she said, it also actually depends on the circumstances. There are some things we call. Well, I don't want to go into
The Constitution.
The Constitution, but there are some things we also need to. It depends. Every case has to be looked into to know where to channel whatever grievances you have with anybody to. First of all, there are situations myself and we can enter into just a civil transaction, but at the end of the day, probably because of one situation or just frustration somewhere, I am unable to fulfill my obligation towards you. People misinterpret it and totally term it to be criminal in nature. And even if you take your complaints to the police, even if it is where it is a criminal or fraudulent activity, what the police are entitled to do is to investigate the criminal element in your complaint.
All right, let me pause you there a little bit and then maybe tilt off a little bit in 10 seconds, see if you can answer me this question. Is it really possible to convert a woman's pants or bra into money, ritual speaking?
Yeah.
Is it possible?
I've heard that. Look, we are, first of all, spiritual beings that live in a soul, that live in a body. So I've been told that the spiritual governs the physical. So a lot of things could happen spiritually. But then again, I'm going to leave my message. Being a person, the kind of person that you want to be, it starts with you. The kind of government you want to see,
it starts with us. Yes, my director is on my neck, so I gotta go. Next week will be another exciting topic, but whatever we do, we should always remember that karma is real and it can actually come visiting. Some people put it, forgive the use of language, karma is a bitch, it doesn't give up. So try to do what you think is right for you, do it onto another person. And please, the banks, concessions here says you need to do something. Wake up and do something. Our guests from the iPad also say you must do something. Please do so. I'll see you again next week.